It is Talking Reds, and I'm joined by the absolute boys this lovely Tuesday morning. I hope you had a lovely bank holiday. I am John Gibbons. I'm joined, as billed, by Josh Sexton and Mike Kearney. You're like, I know who the absolute boys are, but you know you're gonna need to be footer on this thing. Football season is over, but transfer season is upon us, and that is the big one. And so we've got loads of news on transfer shows at the Anfield Wrap coming out, but we'll have a little chat as well about any links that we have seen. But first of all, huge thanks to NordVPN for partnering with us to the end of May, and hopefully beyond. Who shall see from that, but they've certainly partnered with us for the chunk of the end of the season, and we do really appreciate that, and more on NordVPN to come. But it is the transfer business now, Mike, and it's a funny one really, because normally we'd have a greater awareness of links and things like that, but with the managerial change and also the backroom change, and the fact that the people who've come in are famously tight-lipped, it does mean that you do feel like everyone's sort of scratching around a little bit for names at the moment, and you're trying to figure out of the ones that you see what is concrete and what isn't.
Yeah, we've had like a proper set up period of knowing, right, oh, there's a name that makes sense when we've been linked with them. We're going to sign him, and now it's back to like, where's Josh's half 10 tweet? Like every and you're watching like, and you're seeing these links, and you're like, well, I don't know, it might be him, or it just might be some mad fella. I've seen something before I came in before. I think it might even be off Rob's agenda for the gutter next. And it was like, they went to South America. And I was like, I've never seen anyone play. Like, I don't watch Brazilian or Argentinian football. But like 3 weeks' time, we could be sitting here talking about some fella who's been playing like 80 games a season because the Brazilian league's mad, isn't it? Where they play loads of games. And like Dave Fallows and all the fellas who are like paid to sign it over there, having a belt of time, like watching, or should sign him, you know, he's good. So it is a bit up in the air, isn't it? Like we don't know. We've never seen an Arne Slot team really play football. We don't know who he wants to sign. We're led to believe it's quite similar, and he's happy with what we've got. So it's all mad, isn't it? Like we could sign someone. We mightn't. We're definitely going to sign people, aren't we? Yeah,
they'll definitely sign someone. Josh, you know, Neil keeps saying they've not hired all these people just to have a summer off. Do you know what I mean? Like we've got like now almost the biggest technical team in world football in terms of behind the scenes, if you like, but you're not really sure on who, because like Mike said, you know, the new manager, how does he want to play? What does he think of what he's got? He seems quite happy with what he got, but I'm sure he'll understand a little bit gaps. There's some interesting links to players that he's worked with already in terms of, you know, midfielder, defender, and up front as well. But is that, you know, always like a little bit lazy kind of thing, or you know, are we going to get the next Joe Allen for Brendan Rodgers? It's going to come out over the next couple of weeks, but it might be like Mike says, suddenly there's you might have to stay up late again. Past your bedtime for Josie.
Famously early bedtime as well. Yeah, like it's that interesting so far, because I think like usually Liverpool's sort of transfer targets, like there seems to be no middle ground really. Like you're either getting Alexis McAllister, where it's reported from day one, it drags out for forever, and Liverpool eventually get it done, or it's one of those like Szoboszlai where it just seems to come out completely out the blue. And I wonder now with this new team and with the new manager and stuff, is it more likely to be the latter, where it does come a little bit out the blue, rather than the ones that are sort of long and drawn out? Like you mentioned the thing about what Neil said, where you don't go and hire, as you say, one of the biggest technical teams in world football to just come in and sit on their hands for a whole summer, and it's the timing of when they were hired which is sort of most interesting for me as well. It was all sort of just after the new year, sort of February, March kind of time, wasn't it, when Michael Edwards came in. Julian Ward, I think, is probably the latest appointment to things there. Richard Hughes, I think, was he an end of the season one? I think he saw out his contract to Bournemouth,
about him, yeah.
So there's a couple there who's sort of coming in across different times, but you'd imagine from the minute Michael Edwards gets back into the club, obviously he's got to build that team around him, but he'd be looking at the first team squad as well, thinking about the profile of the new manager who was coming in, and it sounds like from pretty early on they decided that Slot was going to be one of the key contenders for that, and the reason for that was they had this idea of how they wanted to play football and how much continuity they wanted to have from Jurgen Klopp's team. So I think they've already had similar sort of footballers on their radar from that point.
Yeah, no, I think that is all fair to say. There's been a profile of player that they've been looking at for a while now in sorts of different positions, and you don't imagine that changing too much. Do get your comments in, by the way, if you're watching live on YouTube. Let us know who you think we should be going in for. If it's not a name, then a position that you'd like to see us going after strongly, I guess. But it is the information that you're all sort of craving, and you mentioned that the gutter now is, Rob's hosting now, and we've got loads of transfer shows going out at the moment, which I'll run down in a minute. But on the gutter, you're looking at it, there's a couple of centre halves linked and things like that. But Michael Edwards, he's back in charge. He gives very little away. He's tighter than you when it's your round in the Glen Book, and so I'll be honest, Mike, I've not really got a point. I just wanted to make that joke.
That's because Andy Bell's buying all his pints now. He's won his Nunes, but that's what.
Once a week, he was trying to say the terms and conditions very the week. So it's
fucking instalments.
Immortalisation of the Guinness.
do you want to share the bet with the room?
Oh yeah, it was. Famously, Andy doesn't really rate Darwin Núñez very well, does he? And I just put a number out there because he got 19 goals and assists from the season before, so I was like, "Sound 25 is a fair number?" ? And he bit on it. So I was like, "That's easy. He's gonna romp home with that surely," and he did. And then Andy's trying to say like he didn't read the tweet properly. I was like, "Lad, come on, you've got eyes." So you defo read it.
He's one up on you on that.
Yeah, he's definitely. But who's the real winner, you know what I mean? The real quiz is the free 10 pints of Guinness on the way, so... Yeah, I don't know, what was your question?
I didn't really, I wanted to answer.
Say about Michael Edwards being tight, like...
With information, do you know what I mean? So I think it's the anniversary of the Fabinho signing either today or yesterday, according to our social anyway, and Liam never gets anything
Liam's
wrong.
always on top of that stuff.
Exactly, and so and that was one where it came out of nowhere, and maybe there'll be a cheeky one or two of them. Yeah,
because as Josh mentioned before, Szoboszlai sort of happened on the same day, didn't it? It was a mad Sunday in the summer. Liverpool might be interested in Szoboszlai. Oh yeah, by the way, he's done. It was like, sound, yeah. Even the Thiago one came out of the blue, didn't it, in COVID?
Well, they were sort of denying it for ages, weren't
they?
Yeah,
I suppose with the Jota one more so out the blue.
The Jota was really out the blue. Yeah.
So like they both happen in the quick, and it's like, oh yeah, sounds, we've got to go footballer now. And there's not really been any solid links yet because you can't. The manager's not in place. Even like when Klopp announced that he was leaving and you were seeing like random links, you were like, how do you know? Like the fella hasn't even looked at the plays he's got in the eyeball yet and said, "Hiya, nice to meet you." Like and all of a sudden you're telling me he wants to sign some fella from like the Italian league who we've only ever seen play like 4 times. So it is sort of a bit mad. But Michael Edwards has probably got like the joke about him and his laptop in his air-conditioned office from years and years ago still knocks around, doesn't it? So I reckon that laptop is still kept up to date with who's playing football. In like, I remember reading something we signed Origi, and the article was like saying we have footage of him when he was 15 playing like in some league somewhere or some like youth football, and you're like, that's mad. I mean, like it's got to be that detail because they need to know the signing, and we've seen for years, haven't we, how it's about the character and stuff like that. So we just see the name on the like the headline, the tweet or whatever when it pops up, but they'll definitely have had all sorts of information and background upon that lad. And yeah, I expect us to do business in several areas. I think centre half could be massive because Matip's gone and didn't really feature from December on last year, and Gomez never really got played there last season. He was either full back cover, so then that leaves you Konate, Quansah and Van Dijk. And Konate's never, fit all the time, is he? He's had some trouble, so there's definitely business to be done there.
What is a positive, Josh, is that a lot seems to be sorted from our end. And you're looking around at the moment, and there's, Chelsea are looking for a new manager, and it looks like they've chosen the Leicester one, which is sort of quite interesting. But there's still a lot of question marks, not just in the Premier League, but across Europe, of teams who we're going to be hoping to compete with in the Champions League. And it does feel like we've got a lot more sorted than others. Obviously, the backroom staff are now taking effect as well. There's information. Dave Lynch did a story at the weekend about some of Arne Slot's team, and there's a couple of appointments now who sort of come over from Holland. There's a couple of others to be advertised on LinkedIn, which people lost their mind about. And I'm like, that's where people look for jobs. Do you know what I mean? Like, they're not just jobs that you hire people for and maybe interview. Like, do you know what I mean? It's not like we're looking for a centre forward on LinkedIn. Like, people were a little bit sort of funny about that, but I was all right with it. It's the modern world. Might find someone boss. Yeah, but it does feel like, Man City aside, and we're going to come on to talk about them in the second half, and obviously Man City and Arsenal got a lot of stability, but in terms of, other clubs who are trying to sort of catch up, it does feel like we've got a lot more sorted on and off the pitch than some of the others.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that like the weird thing about LinkedIn is because it's social media, isn't it? And some people just use social media basically for their jokes. That's the reason I follow you, Mike, and Jordan. To be honest, it's just to get all my good content there. But yeah, it's interesting even seeing some of the names that are sort of floating around, because you mentioned before about the almost easier links of the lads who Somerville's worked with before, and obviously that Slot's worked with before, and obviously Somerville from Leeds is what I was going to go on to say. And he's played at the weekend, and I saw your tweet saying you watched him and you thought he was crap. I thought Leeds were crap as well, which is absolutely brilliant, to be honest, because I'm so glad they've not come up. But he's had a great season in the Championship. There's all these sort of styles and sort of things you can think about in terms of matching up to what the new gaffer's gonna want when he comes in. Like I'm just dead intrigued to see the way that the way the team's gonna set up and things like that. But as Mike says, he's almost got to get his foot in the door first, really, doesn't he, and decide all that before he can even think about who's going to be coming in. That's where I think it will sort of fall more on Michael Edwards and the Richard Hugheses and Julian Wards to be going out and sort of doing a lot of that groundwork for him. And we'll be talking through some of the links. There's quite a few people sort of mentioning names in the comments there, and we'll be talking through some of them on the gutter, which, as you said before, we're recording after this, and I've got some stats to go through for that as well, some red hot statty stuff. So yeah, you can look out for that on the Anfield Wrap to come as well.
Well, here is our full schedule in terms of transfers. Before I'll ask Josh to bring in a couple of those comments that he's just trailed there. But the gutter, like we've said a couple of times, is being recorded now. Josh does some stats for it as well. That'll be going out as audio and video. We've got the famous transfer committee games. If you don't know what they are, a group of Anfield Wrap contributors come together. They get a load of information from Neil in terms of values, in terms of ins and outs so you can sell, and basically those 3 or 4 people have to decide what they would do if Liverpool transfer committee I've listened to the first one. It is absolutely carnage. I did the 4th one. There's a 5th one being recorded today, so most people get a go. Well, pretty much everyone who wants to go sort of gets one. It is really good fun. Everyone goes in different directions on it. It's meant to be a laugh, and when you hear that first one, you'll certainly sort of laugh on there. Really enjoyable, but it is a good experiment as well. What actually would you do if finances are limited and you can sort of sell and buy and bring in? What tough decisions that would you make, and what you would prioritise? And so the first one is out for audio subscribers, and loads of other stuff in terms of going out on the Anfield Wrap as well. So good time to subscribe, and when we are linked with people and when the links do become a little bit firmer, the likes of me and Josh will be speaking to people on from the clubs and people who've seen them, trying to find out some more about these solid links. So as ever, really good time to subscribe to the Anfield Wrap. Download the app, get stuck in, and let us know what you think, and also to rate the people who Josh has just said on social media from the Anfield Wrap. Jordan Singleton is number 1. He is the one you should be following, especially when he goes back home. Me and Josh get him on alert when he goes back to Northern Ireland, because basically he has a pint and tweets mad shit. So if you're into sort of that sort of thing,
all killer, no filler.
All killer, no filler. If you like crane chat, and you might say, I'm not sure to do, but you do, don't you?
You don't know how much you do until you do.
Exactly.
It's like I always say.
Josh always does that. That's why he's a good follow as well. I put him too. So there you are. So a couple of comments to bring in before we have a little break.
Yeah, so the God Almighty's been on, and he says, up the fucking Reds, which I highly agree with. Pete B says, what do we make of Addy Amy links? I think he's the lad from Dortmund, isn't he? He says, output seems very low for a wide forward. There's just a couple of names being thrown around, really. James LFC 86 says about Varela being linked. Leon Evans Singer, I can't guess his profession, to be honest, but he says Eze from Palace is a good shout. There's someone who's basically broken down all those links, which is good. He says he'd love Eze. There's more Somerville chat. Sujandi Supat says we probably need a younger DM, which I presume stands for Dude Meister, 25 years oldish. So I think he's trying to replace me with someone slightly younger. I'm here to stay, unfortunately, as the Dude Meister of this live stream.
That's trademarked, by the way. Don't try and use it.
Yeah, absolutely, patented. And Welsh Roadrunner says we're heavily linked with Thuram last year, likely again this time. I'm sort of, I don't know about you boys, but I'm sort of leaning more towards the sort of Endo type 6, and probably going for someone a bit younger as well, because Endo has almost allowed us to cheat in that regard now a little bit. Like, I think it'll be really good for Bajcetic that Endo's going to be around this season to sort of, you know, allow him to be eased back in, because I don't think he's going to come straight back in and hit the ground running. Obviously, we all would hope that he does. I think somebody like Thuram, you heard the noises from last summer that they consider him to be a similar player to Szoboszlai, and that was the reason they didn't go for him in the end and decided to go for Szoboszlai. So he doesn't feel necessarily to me like the sort of midfielder we need this summer.
No, the interesting thing about Thuram is that his contract's up in 12 months. I think that's right. And so, you know, they're talking about, you know, being able to get him for a decent price, and you know, they sort of love that. So that might bring him into play a little bit. There's also a midfielder who slots out the Feyenoord, whose name's jumped out of my head, I'm sorry, but is someone who's been linked with quite a lot and has spoken up as a potential, you know, really sort of top player, and you don't think he'd costed the moon, but, you know, sort of wait and see on that when you see how what the others at the club sort of think of him. I don't know if any of them jump out for you, Mike, in terms of names that have just been mentioned.
Varela is the Porto fella, is he?
Yeah,
I really just want him to say the Varela fella. Tongue twister, isn't it? But like,
since we lost the Cherry fella.
Yeah, the Cherry fella.
It's a real shame.
The Varela fella sounds like a solid number 6 that we can all get on board with, at least for his name alone, really. I don't know. Adiemi, I watched the Champions League quite closely, to be honest, like the semis, and he was rapid. Yeah. Like, and he kept getting loads of chances, and I think like. He went from Salzburg, I think, to Dortmund, and I think he was like a more central striker, but he's played wide loads, and he was getting back, and that was one thing I was like interested in going. I wondered if we've got any money to spend. Maybe we'd be looking at that, like someone who gets back just as well as they get forwards, and like he was just explosive and powerful. I was like, I'd love a bit of that, but maybe the output issue is the fact that he doesn't put the ball in the net as much as you'd like, maybe, and I imagine Dortmund to be asking for a lot of money for one of their players who starts games for them. You know, who's starting in the semi-final. You imagine he's going to have a good chance to start in the final, but like that sort of player, explosive pace, just no fear running at you. Like, I do feel as if we've tried to do that a couple of times, haven't we? We've tried to do it differently as well. Everyone remembers the Keita signing and thinking we'd signed the best midfielder in the world, and how he was talked about how he carried the ball. And Diaz, when he came in, carried the ball seemingly a lot more than he does now. But like, I don't know, we're sort of caught in between two styles of play there, aren't we? Like, we want you to do all this, but then you come in, actually just play our way because it's better. So like, you don't know, do you? In terms of you bring someone in because they've been doing something really good for someone else, and we've seen something that like when we signed Genie, is probably the biggest one, isn't it? Like, he scored loads of goals. He scored goals for Newcastle. Did he score 4 in one game or something one time? Mad. And then we just drop him in. He's the best number 8/6 at times in the world, doing everyone's work, and he was getting criticised for not scoring goals. Yeah. But that's the sort of that it all depends on the system, doesn't it? And if we're buying someone who's meant to be like the Genie thing, if we're not getting as many goals from him, yeah, but he's won the ball back and gave it to Sadio there, lad, and you know, is Sadio Mane going to score or set Mo up or set Bobby up? So like, we just need that, find out what the system is, and sign the players up based off that, I suppose.
Of course, Sadio Mane's like me in the office, just sort of making everything happen up top. Hope you've enjoyed that. Like I say, loads more if you do subscribe to the Anfield Wrap. The gut is going to be straight after this. You've got all those transfer committee shows. You've got loads of great stuff on the Anfield Wrap app at the moment, so do get stuck in. But before we talk a little bit about some other football news outside of Liverpool, I do want to give a shout out to NordVPN, who've partnered with us for this run of Talking Reds and also from our audio stuff as well. We do really appreciate it. It was nice to meet a couple of the guys from NordVPN last week as well, a podcast show which I went down to, so I to the lads there, but we do appreciate it. And also, I'm a user of NordVPN. A couple of the other guys have done it. I know Rob's talked about using it. We've set Mo up, we've set Jordan up sort of over there as well, and there's loads of fantastic reasons to use it and benefits to the service. There's greater protection, so there's greater security and peace of mind, especially when you're using public Wi-Fi's in different countries or things like that. But I think one of the premier benefits for me, and I know a lot of you who've let us know that you're enjoying it, is the ability to change your virtual location and enjoy things like TV or streaming services, because you can get streaming services cheaper, apparently as well. Other things that benefits to that, but it's watching the TV in other countries from where you are is really beneficial. And I know Mr. Craig Hannon, who's gone on holiday this week, is making sure that he's tuning into Bargain Hunt every day. I was trying to think of the funniest TV show I could think of that he could be watching every day.
Could see Craig on Bargain Hunt as well, to be fair.
Yeah, I could see Craig on Bargain Hunt, yeah, if he could. Well, that's why he's watching it, to pick up skills, so when he goes on, he'll absolutely smash it.
I was trying to think of an old joke in there as well, but I don't want to offend any of the viewers by suggesting that a programme is for old people, but I mean, maybe Bargain Hunt is.
Yeah, I would say so. Any
Dickinson's Real Deal?
Yeah. So that's what Craig's watching, currently on holiday, and that could be you too. So it's nordvpn.com/TAW, nordvpn.com/TAW. You get 4 months free if you go through our link, and also they are that sure that you will enjoy it, and with that sure that you'll get a lot from it, then you get a 30-day money back guarantee. So yeah, if you within 30 days, if you're not enjoying it, or you're not, it's not for you, you can get your money back within 30 days. That's how sure they are that you will enjoy it. But moving on to a couple of other things that have happened over the weekend. You mentioned the playoff games, so obviously that was big news. Southampton coming back to the Premier League, which they were delighted about. I watched the celebrations yesterday, and they were absolutely made up. So fair play on that. But there was also this story that the CC breaker that Pep Guardiola is going to do one more year. He just constantly copies Jurgen. I think it is fair to say, in everything that he does. But it is an interesting one if it is true. You won't be surprised. He sort of said on the record, as he listen, what else have I got to do? You know, it's 4 league titles now. He's won the first Champions League for Manchester City, and it does sort of, you know, end up getting a bit samey for you. There's the intensity as well. He's an intense man, sort of similar.
Don't think Bernardo Silva basically pulls this trick every single summer, being like, oh yeah, I'm going to leave. There's like, I've already seen Romano the day being like, there's a 50 million release clause in his contract. He's a fucking liar. I'm not saying you are, by the way. Maybe you are, but Bernardo Silva definitely is. So I wouldn't be trusting that. But yeah, it'll be really interesting to see. And there'll be a load of clubs around the league who are breathing a sigh of relief. Like I've seen loads of Arsenal fans already sort of, you know, weighed down by the scale of having to try and catch this Manchester City side.
Well,
and
they might have an eye on Arteta.
Exactly. So it'll be that'll be even interesting to see, and you know for us obviously it'll be, you know, a huge sigh of relief if he goes. We're yet to see what the Slot era looks like, but if the Slot era can get off to a good start in those first 12 months, and then suddenly Guardiola's out the door at City after that, then you know it might feel like the world's our oyster from that point. So yeah, I can certainly say that I won't be crying any tears of sadness when Pep Guardiola eventually leaves the Premier League.
Yeah, I mean, the obvious stuff that comes out is that always jumping before the charges and stuff like that. I mean, we'll sort of see on that, but you know, it is, you know, it does open things up, doesn't it? And if you're like Josh is, you're an Arsenal fan and you're looking at it, you're thinking, well, you know, if we can just, you know, make sure we keep developing, you know, keep the squad keen and things like that, then there's an opportunity there. And it will be interesting post Guardiola to see how much of City's dominance was him, how much of it was the ownership, you know, how much of it's the players. You've got to expect some dip, haven't you, after him, because, you know, he is such an incredible coach that whoever they bring in will feel like a bit of a downgrade, but also there'll be a bit of an adjustment.
Yeah, look, when they brought him in, I think everyone was wary, weren't they? Like, oh, you know, this fella's won leagues at Bayern and Barca, and there's that whole thing about how, yeah, he's done it with a big checkbook. Of course he has. Like, you're not soft. We're not going to say no, he hasn't. Like, there's a point where he signed fullbacks for £50 million every single summer. But at the end of the day, what he's doing on the training pitch to the players that he's able to get into his squad is fantastic. Like, and
keeping them going as well,
yeah.
the relentlessness.
It's fun. It must be exhausting if you're a player of his. Like, honestly, like the level you've got to be at. We chased it for years and we beat them. We absolutely pulverised them. To be honest with you, in 1920, we were that good that they couldn't keep up with us. So that should be remembered at all times. Like, they literally couldn't hold on to us. We obliterated them, and we got closer than anyone. Look, Arsenal finished 2 points behind them. You know, they haven't quite done the full experience. A point behind them, and then them going 2-0 down on the final day. Exceptional sort of levels of absolutely being, you know, gutted by a colossal machine. But they are there because they've spent an awful lot of money, and they will continue to do so. But they've got the best best coach. I think Jürgen was probably the best man manager and one of the best coaches in the world, and that sort of package built up to be able to compete with Guardiola and beat him on more than one occasion, in one-off games and over the whole season. That's a massive thing to replace. I think before Guardiola goes in, they've won 6 out of 8, haven't they? I think he's been there 8 years now, has he? Or 7 years?
8, yeah,
and
must be,
6 or 8 years. And he's won 6 titles out of the 8 years. He finished 4th in his first season and second to us.
Yeah.
So like the first season, you sort of go, yeah, all right. He was not quite got the squad he's got now. He's not got quite the ideas over. Took a while to adjust. But then when it did, you see the level that the players have got. The constant. It's like a metronome, isn't it? That's what everyone said about Barcelona. It's boring. But he had Messi in his team. He had Iniesta, like Xavi, all these players that were just good at doing what he wanted over and over and over again until they just beat you into submission, which is what Man City do. Like they went 2-0 up against 2-0 down, against Leverkusen, didn't he? Or, Leipzig, sorry. And I was watching the comeback, and the fans weren't even asked. I was like,
they were through though. They
were through, but like 3-2 comeback still sounds, isn't it? Like not to be sniffed at. And like you just come back 3-2. They've done it a lot this season, haven't they? Where they got through games tightly and stuff like that. And I don't know. Maybe it is just a thing. Is like, well, I'll do 5 in a row, and then I'll get off because I'm like, my main sparring partner's gone from Liverpool. Arteta's been all right, but I've definitely had his number, and he's not like Arsenal. Probably haven't really been brave enough to come and do me at my own game this season. And is there a manager who can do that? They won it with Mancini and Pellegrini before Guardiola, didn't he? And other than that, it's been Guardiola, so it's going to be a real period of adjustment for them. And like Josh mentioned there, we could be settled after a year. Who knows what next season brings? We may even go close and do it ourselves. But if he does get off, we're us and Arsenal would be looking at each other saying we're set the best here. Let's have a go.
Let's have a go indeed. I hope you've enjoyed talking about it. Huge thanks to Josh and to Mike for coming in and speaking to us, to George for filming it as well. Just a couple of quick things before we go. Massive thanks if you came down to Gravity Max yesterday. It was really nice to meet a few new people, to have some younger faces and people in the crowd as well. Really nice atmosphere. So thanks to Gravity Max in Liverpool One for inviting us, and for you guys for coming down. And also if you go to the Jürgen Klopp events at the arena tonight, do enjoy, do give him a big cheer, have a big sob, and I think that is the final goodbye to Jürgen. It must be absolutely tonight, but enjoy that if you go into the arena. Up the Reds. Thanks a lot to Nord again, and have a lovely day.
A VPN, short for Virtual Private Network, is a cybersecurity tool for privacy and security. When you connect to it, a VPN creates a secure tunnel and secures data traveling between you and the VPN server. Encryption scrambles data, so to anyone outside the encrypted tunnel, the information looks like gibberish, meaning no snoops can sneak a peek at your online activity. NordVPN ensures that you can browse safely and privately in just a few clicks.